Hi guys, welcome to The Hindu. Hansal, I'll start with this. When it was announced you're making a series out of Jigna Vora's prison memoir, a lot of us assume that it's going to be largely a prison drama, but this is a much more detailed look, at the world of crime journalism in Bombay, underworld, police agencies. Did you always envision a show in this space? Was the incentive just the book, or did you have a larger plan, to capture this world that hasn't been captured in the level of detail that you have?
Yeah, always. I was not interested in a prison drama, to be honest. I did not want to do Orange is the New Black. Because for me, that, visually, it was almost like visual nausea. When I started seeing it, season after season, you get tired seeing the same walls. And that's the idea. That's the design of the show. But I don't see myself making that. It's almost like doing a set drama. It's like doing a Dekh by Dekh in prison. So yeah, it's like setting, it's almost like, so I didn't, I could not see that. And I saw in this an opportunity to explore the world through this girl's eyes, through Jagruti. So to build that character, to have a middle class Gujarati family, a girl set in that family, to explore her aspirations and the collateral damage that is caused by these aspirations in today's times. Both the media gaze and the gaze of society on somebody who, the price that you pay for being overly ambitious, for being a hustler. The city makes you a hustler, but yet you pay a price for it. Right. You become the collateral damage of your own dreams. So I think that was the larger idea. It was a personal journey that I wanted to explore. But of course, in doing that, you have a profession. So the world of media, the crisscrossing worlds of crime, where you have gangsters, the police, politicians, and journalism. How those worlds crisscross. I think it was very exciting. It becomes so multi-layered that you don't even realize that there are layers within layers.
Right. Who else did you speak to outside of Jigna and I'm guessing the people involved?
I didn't speak to anyone. Okay. So my writing team did that. I have a theory about research that as a director, if I get too bogged down by the research, it shows in my work. The research should not show. Research should seamlessly become part of the world that you're creating. So Mrunmayee Lagu, who's my co-creator, a lot of the heavy lifting was done by her and her team. Virat Trivedi, Anu Singh Chaudhary, Karan Vyas, and Deepu Sebastian, who used to work for the Indian Express, who was a character in my film Aligarh.
Yes.
So Deepu did a lot of research for us. He actually interviewed Jigna, a lot of police persons, a lot of people. And there was hours and hours of interviews. They're sitting on my email even now. I did not even open it. And then there was Ankur, who was part of the room to give a sense of the newsroom energy. What happens in a daily, on a daily basis in a newspaper office. So he was there to give us that sense. So I sort of used the script as my starting point, not the book, not the real people. In fact, we met Jigna few days before we wrapped up the shoot. So I did not want to be colored by that because anyway we were fictionalizing. It's a fictionalized, dramatized story inspired, the seed of it came from those 9 months in jail.
Right. So Karishma, what were you working on? You didn't meet her before the series?
No, we met together only on the set.
And only when we were wrapping up.
Right. So you had reference points to when you were building the character for yourself?
No, so I was shadowing a journalist. Ankur Pathak took me, to the real police station.
Ankur is the villain.
Yeah, so I didn't know how to approach, the body language, how you're supposed to talk, when you enter, what is your body language, what thoughts you have. So I was shadowing a journalist because Ankur is a journalist, ex-journalist. So he was taking me everywhere, to the police station, to a journalist.
With a crime journalist. There was a female crime journalist who she went with.
Yeah. And that really helped, And when I was reading the script, I was understanding what is the role, what is her characteristic.
Right.
The script was very detailed.
Very detailed.
It was very detailed. I mean, you did not, like Zeeshan did not need to shadow editor to play the part. Because the script had everything. That's what I'm saying. When the writers research, no, script had everything. Like he did not have to shadow a cop to play a cop. The script was very, very. I mean, one of the best scripts in my career. Also, it's one of the best written scripts. It's written very nicely.
Harman, I must compliment. I had to do a double take, when I see you in the series. I was like, he's so. That's the Harman Baweja we remember. And also, how you blend into the role of a cop, like this tough talking, taskmaster cop. Was this almost like a resurgence to come back with such a heavy, cool role?
Well, thank you. I'll take that. It's been a good decade in the waiting. But honestly, it kind of just went with the flow. I did not. This wasn't something that I had planned out at all for myself. I was busy doing, other aspects of my life, focusing on my writing and producing, and then Hansal and me got chatting, and then he, yeah.
It was your idea to get him for
Oh
the
yeah,
cop role?
totally. It wasn't mine.
It was sneaky, very, very sneaky
I
idea.
have to hear the story. It was like-
Very sneaky idea.
It
We
was
were at
very-
Mukesh Chabra's office.
Yeah,
You best.
yeah.
We were at Mukesh Chabra's office.
For casting for something else.
Asking for something else. And he was there and I was clicking his picture. He said, what are you doing? I said,
Why are you
"No."
clicking my picture? Because we were working on a project together at that time, and and I'm like, why are you clicking my picture? And then suddenly he looks at Mukesh and they said, they have some sort of a sync which is just very, it's very sweet, but it's also a bit like, whoa. Because they both have just looked at each other and said, "Tu soch raha hai jo main soch raha hu." He's like, "हाँ." I'm like, "क्या सोच रहे हो आप लोग?" Like, you should play a part for the show. And I was like, listen, I'm not in that, mind space. But then, of course, it was Hansal. I've known him for more than 2 decades. The trust factor is there 100%, and then he used a nice, correct phrase saying, your dad will be proud. So, like, on that note, I'm in. But then now you got to take care.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think after that, it panned out pretty well. I actually had a very beautiful time on set. I think it was one of those, probably the first set of my life, and I've been on set since I remember my life, with dad working in the industry. I've never been so relaxed. Something that my own, my man who kind of is always around me with my driver, I would say, was the first guy to tell me कि पहली बार आपको मैं इतना relaxed देख रहा हूँ. And it's purely because I think I was just focused on doing what I need to do, and that was it, and there was nothing else that one needed to focus on. So maybe that kind of, works out. Maybe that's how actors are supposed to be, I guess.
But were you really considering, let's say, supplanting acting and, focus on writing and producing for the moment before this happened?
Was I what?
Were you considering, putting acting on the back seat?
I mean, it was. It's been 10 years,
right.
since, 9 years since I did something. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't think it was the back seat. I don't think there was any car for it. Like, I don't think anyone was even remotely driving around saying, buddy, you want to act? It was, so, yeah, it just came out of nowhere.
Do you think these times have enabled it, for roles like these to exist?
Yeah,
roles like-
absolutely. I think, and that I think is something that's commendable, because one is also working on the other side, and there's so much talent out there, which unfortunately with the previous, formats where it was totally dependent upon box office,
Right.
and the stakes were much higher, and the room to play was much lesser. I think now it's kind of flipped the other way. There's so much more room to play, and there's so much talent out there, and I'm glad that I can be one little minuscule part in it and give that opportunity to someone like myself. But yeah, it's beautiful.
Right. Zeeshan and Karishma, I want to discuss a scene that stuck with me when I was watching Scoop. This is a little smoke break that your characters take, and you have a very awesome dialogue where you say that if journalism is good, it will be controversial. That was the diktat earlier, and now it's become like if it's controversial, then it's good. Talk us through shooting that scene.
So I felt every time Jagruti used to just take another path and she used to go off the track, he used to get me back on the track. So I used to always explain him कि कभी-कभी off track जाते तो चलता है, this is what you need to, grow in life. And he always used to put me in my place, and that grounding was always there, that Jagruti अगर हम लोग off track जाएंगे तो ये गलत हो सकता है. So I think that chemistry and the relationship we both share off the screen also helped, for us to understand what we were talking. And it was very impromptu that he's taking a cigarette break. So I'm like, acha de do, So it was like very comfortable shooting that scene with him. Zeeshan?
And there was so much noise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't know that.
Oh, see,
There was a generator down and we couldn't hear each other only. But we were just understanding the cues.
मैं हल्का सा अंदाजा लगा के देखा कि चुप हो गई, अच्छा ठीक है मेरा क्यों आ गया इसके होंठ नहीं हिल रहे, हाँ
मतलब वो nobody realized it was a well written scene, I think.
Yeah.
Very well written scene.
Then I think मतलब scene wise definitely जब मैंने पढ़ा भी था तो मैंने हंसल सर को कॉल किया था जैसे ये सीन पढ़ा था और मैंने कहा था यार ये बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट सीन हो जाता है, क्योंकि मतलब एक अलग चीज़ थोड़ी शेयर करूँगा, शाहिद के टाइम पे हमारे साथ हुई थी कि जो कैरेक्टर था मेरा आरिफ, वो बहुत ज़्यादा ना अच्छा आदमी, अच्छा सिर्फ एक ही जोन में जा रहा था, जिसमें फिर हंसल सर ने एक सीन ऐड किया था जिसमें मैं शाहिद को डांटता हूँ और बोलता हूँ कि यार मेरा क्या फलाना ढिमकाना, सो दैट ही लुक्स ह्यूमन। और ये वाला सीन पढ़ के ना मुझे एकदम से हुआ था कि इससे पहले ना सब कुछ एवरीथिंग इज अंडर कंट्रोल, वो ये भी संभाल लेगा कि नहीं ये ऐसे नहीं होता वैसे होता है, ही इज ट्राइंग टू टेक कंट्रोल ऑफ एवरीथिंग। सडनली यू सी अ ह्यूमन साइड टू इमरान इन दिस सीन, कि वो बाहर जाके ही इज ऑल्सो, मतलब आसपास सब एवरीथिंग इज रॉटन, वो खुद परेशान है एंड नहीं हैंडल हो रहा है, एंड शी इज़ द ओनली ट्रस्टवर्दी पर्सन जिसके साथ वो थोड़ा खुल के बात कर भी सकता है। और कि यार एक बहुत अच्छा वक्त हुआ करता था, लाइक द लाइन सेड कि यार बहुत अच्छा टाइम था जब हम आए थे इस फील्ड में, अब सब कुछ हाथ से स्लिप हो रहा है एंड मैं ट्रस्ट करता हूँ इसे, तो दैट इज़ वाई आई एम शेयरिंग दैट विद हर एंड सडनली इट मेक्स इमरान मोर ह्यूमन। जो उससे पहले बड़ा सब कुछ कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं होगा वैसा नहीं होगा, तो आई थिंक वो फिर और मतलब केमिस्ट्री वाली तो वो खेल था ही, जो मैडम ने बोला अपना काम ही केमिस्ट्री का है तो खैर मतलब इट वाज रियली इजी टू शूट दैट सीन, बहुत जल्दी हुआ था, बहुत जल्दी
नॉइज
हाँ वो नॉइज का बस हो रहा था कि अब क्या करें, बट वी हैड फन शूटिंग दैट।
Did you enjoy the salt and pepper beard?
बहुत
That
मजा
went
आया,
with the role
नहीं मुझे तो वो भी बहुत मजा आया, जैसे ही इन्होंने बोला ना कि थोड़ा वेट बढ़ाना है, मैंने कहा खुल के खाऊंगा आने दो। तो उसमें शुरुआत में प्रथम जो है वो फ्रेम में वो भी कह रहा था कि मैंने आपका प्रेम काट दिया, वही सर डीओपी सर, तो वो ऐसा था कि सर मैंने ना जैसे आप हिले तो मैंने थोड़ा ऊपर ले लिया ताकि पेट ना दिखे, मैंने कहा अरे बढ़ाया है भाई मेहनत करके दिखाओ जब खड़े हुए पेट पे, तो सॉल्ट पेपर थोड़ा वो एज और अपना आराम से बैठना मज़ा आया मुझे।
And so tell me this, you started your career in the 90s on television and you've seen the media industry and you know we are correlated, cinema, the larger space, politics. What do you see at an ideological level having changed in the press, let's say from back in the day and till today, now when people talk about media being highly commercialized, polarized, driving narratives, when you compare it to let's say journalists you might have known or seen or tonality or style of journalism or fact checking back in the day, do you see a market shift?
I don't know. At that time, it was very insular. I could not even get through to journalists. They were like this, elusive. So what has changed for me is that at that time, they were elusive lot. You know, Khalid Mohammed existed as a fantasy. He was a name. So Khalid is watching the film, but I don't know who Khalid is. You know, he was a reviewer, and I would love reading his reviews, even though he used to bash my films like hell. But that was the only person, but he was elusive. There was which was true for everyone. Journalists were elusive, stars were elusive, politicians were elusive. So what has happened now is with the availability of so much, everybody has to fill in space. So people have become full-time, spokespersons. Everybody has become spokesperson for themselves. There's social media, there is so much. So it naturally leads to commercialization. How do you fill up all that space and yet monetize it? At that time, we actually paid for newspapers. Now, newspapers are out of fashion. If somebody says, I got up in the morning, I was reading the papers, people treat you like you're what an old foggy. Because all your news comes from all these scattered sources, it's coming from distracted viewing. So I think the elusive nature of the industry, which is good, it's become more accessible. But at the same time, that has become its biggest failing. And ideologically, I feel there's never been a difference. There have been biases, there have been ideological stances. It's been there from the past, but you saw it, people had better skills at writing and expression. I think the problem is the brevity has led to poor expression. So everything is a bullet point, and that bullet point makes things look less ideological and more trivial. So it's trivialized. My ideology is trivialized. My belief system is trivialized. My passion is trivialized. Because that's what you want to sell. That's what the consumer of my story wants today. So it's that. I think it's the trivialization that disappoints me. It's not the commercialization. When I started, Bombay Times used to take money. Even then, I used to go desperately asking for page 3 कि मेरा photo भी छप जाए. Then I realized कि ये तो पैसा लगता है इसके लिए. ये free. Now it has become. Now you get an invoice for it. At that time, I don't know if the invoice existed. So slowly the invoice it became a proper business model, and which MediaNet has become. So it's now we don't feel that there is anything wrong in monetizing space. At that time, we used to say, "Arey yaar, paisa lagta hai." We used to get idealistic, but I realized that I was naive, not idealistic.
Producers नहीं किया. Producers वगैरह.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not just invoice, it's GST, TDS, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's what Hansal like on set. Like he has a funny cameo where he's bashing somebody up for being late. Is he like that? Like is he particular about time?
Ditto. He's bashed up so many people. Don't go by the way he looks. He's bashed up a lot of people on set. I think Zeeshan to 3-4 बार खाई
No,
हो.
but not like I don't.
On punctuality?
No. I don't shout at anyone.
Just kidding. Just
पीठ पे मेरे कोड़े के निशान.
Actually high chair थी हमने नीचे कर पाई है.
मारते हैं.
No, he's an absolute chiller on set.
Sweetheart.
And I think that helps everyone on set here because he makes everyone feel so relaxed and I think that's half the job done. I think
That cameo, by the way, because we were in Pune and there was no other actor, so I had to wear that suit and do it. And she got troubled because every time she had to pass me by, and I used to keep forgetting the line because I kept looking at her. And she passed, okay, ho gaya na, acha. You didn't say your line. I kept
So you're struggling between
directing and acting. So it was 17 takes of that damn thing.
Oh.
My own thing, 17 takes.
Short film.
And it was a tricky shot. And I kept saying, and I kept editing the scene. I said, let's not do this. We'll do it like this. And then all of them would come to me, no, sir, this is important. This should be there. I realized later that they were all ragging me. Now you act, you keep saying, no, okay, this is okay. Now don't do it this way. This is no, you do it now. Yeah. So that was their joke on me. So in the edit also, I tried to cut it out. I said, this is not working. My editor said, no, sir, this is very important. And then Netflix, I cut it out. Netflix said, why did you cut that out?
Oh.
So they're all having, there's that 30 seconds of fun at my expense.
Yeah.
But I liked it. The hairstylist changed my parting, gave me a nice.
I haven't seen it. I want to see
nice lawyer, a nice lawyer suit and a well-fitted suit.
It's in the third episode, na?
Yeah. Third or fourth episode.
Fourth beginning.
Fourth beginning.
I'm screaming at Bhavesh.
Oh, I remember.
एक
Outside
मिनट
the
भी नहीं
court.
देखा मैंने जैसे ट्रेलर
मैंने कहा
देखा
देखा हमको देता ही नहीं हमको देखने.
Karishma, has this experience been very vindicating for you, having acted for so long, but, not had a show that really gets, to showcase your acting skills?
No, it was, very, very good and I really loved it. And I wanted to, always feel that I want that platform to prove myself as an actor. And I think Hansal sir gave me that chance, with my audition. And I really feel very confident, great. And I have that little sense of pride that, I'm kind of playing a very important part in the show. So, yeah, it's good. It's a good feeling.
I like also subconsciously setting up this, I don't know how to even describe it, like a Gujarati, factual, Mumbai, long form genre that's very Hansal Mehta, post-scam. You've always dealt with non-fiction in your stories, but they've been in feature films. Has online or long form really liberated you and tell stories that are, so factually driven? And, the fun of it comes from, all that's happening and, the technicalities and the world that you see. And so much of the joy in this show comes from, how do editors behave, how do cops behave, how do journalists behave. How satisfying has this journey been for you?
Very, very satisfying. Long form as a format, I have been wanting to embrace ever since I saw Mad Men. And I saw how you can deep dive into a world.
Right.
And through its characters. no matter how alien the world is, it's in New York in the 60s in an advertising agency, but I'm invested in the characters. So that exploration of characters, that long form allows you that, whether it's the classic Mad Men, Breaking Bad, but Mad Men sort of made me, it compelled me, and I want to do this, I want to be in the long form. So when I made Scam, I think I felt this sense of liberation, and then of course the success of Scam was like a vindication of that feeling that I had that maybe I was meant for long form. I feel that long form has given me a newer form of expression. It's like, what do I enjoy reading more? Do I enjoy reading a newspaper, or do I enjoy reading the New Yorker?
Yes.
I enjoy the New Yorker. The long reads. I think a piece really blossoms when it's long, when it meanders, when it explores so many aspects of the story. And long form allows you that.
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of, HBO has been doing it for the last 100 years. They taught us what long form, from Sopranos to The Wire, then Netflix with House of Cards. I mean, that, we have been late to embrace it. We did not have our HBO moment because, our television somehow got into a formulaic phase. Very successful, very prosperous, but it was formulaic. So we never really explored newer stories on television. So we sort of kick-started our journey into the long form with Sacred Games into as late as 2017. So I think it's a great place for filmmakers who have stamina. It's long. It takes a lot of time to write. When you go on the first day of the shoot, you realize that I have 490 pages left to complete. You finish 6 pages and you say you have 490 pages to go. It's daunting. A feature film has 90 pages. So suddenly when you are faced with 500 pages, every day feels daunting. This will never end. So now I've realized that it's fun. The more you get into it, the more you... it's just very painful when you finish shooting, because you've actually built stronger bonds in that longer time.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, guys. All the best for
Thank
I see
you.
signaling. No?